What is up, guys? It's Sunday, 5:40 a.m. About to wake up. What's up, guys? Brand new day. About to get back on the streets in the 911. It's 5:50 a.m. Everybody's asleep. Sunday morning. I don't know what else to say. I'm just waking up. Oh man, I was just reading the comments on the YouTube channel. Somebody wrote, what do you think about Verizon stock? I know, man, some of these dividend stocks are starting to look so appealing. 6.9% dividend. I use alphaspread.com and I use valueinvesting.io. So it shows that it's below its intrinsic value. Worst case, Verizon, it says it's only 5% above its intrinsic value, or below its intrinsic value. Base case, 38% below its intrinsic value. But Verizon's inside of SCHD, so that's what I do. I've just been buying SCHD. I got a little VIG, just keeping it simple, focusing on the dividend growers. But that's the strategy I like. Leave a comment, what are you guys investing in? But Verizon as a single stock, I don't know whether or not the business, their revenue is slightly increasing, it's not decreasing, but if you're buying it for the dividend is safe based on like Simply Safe dividends, high valued enterprise clients. But in the retail side, there's a lot of competition with pricing with like T-Mobile, AT&T. I mean, you guys know, you see the phone commercials, they're like 10 free iPhones for... But Verizon has a trusted network. But man, I gotta say, T-Mobile's dominated over the years. I can remember when Verizon was the leader. But in these market corrections, man, the yields can get high. And if the dividend yield is safe, it is appealing sometimes to add a little single stock, even if it's in your ETF. Having it in the ETF, though, keeps it simple, because then you don't get spread thin where you're looking at all your single stocks every time you want a dollar cost average. And you're kind of like, oh, what should I add to? I don't know. Is the company still good? When you have the ETF, it's like spread across all these different companies. It's a lot easier. It's a little bit less emotion, a little bit more system. And I think sometimes that can go a long way. Man, I'm out on the streets, 6 a.m. I woke up this morning and I went into my kitchen. My son's in there at like 5 a.m. I'm like, damn, dude. I literally laid back on my bed and I just thought to myself, he's freaking built differently or something. He's just like built differently. But I was thinking to myself, I remember hearing Kobe Bryant talk about how when he would go to the gym at like 4 in the morning or 3 in the morning, and somebody asked him like, why do you do that? And he was like, man, I get an extra hour or 2 hours of training every single day. And he's like, that's 14 hours a week. Like 300 and some hours a month extra. Like 3,000 something a year. And then you add that over years and it's almost like it can be impossible for someone to catch you. If you're like, you know, chasing a goal, or like this dude, he's on the streets running early, dialed in. That's what my son's been doing. He's been training 3 hours a day, 6 days a week for, I don't know, 4 years, 5 years. But it's like calluses in his mind, habit. I need to audit my habits. I audited my food, which is great. I've cut out the sugar. It's about probably day 12, no sugar. And I gotta say, I feel amazing. I feel way better. I've also lost some weight. I went from like 220 something to 218. I was 218.2 this morning when I weighed myself. If anybody's a dividend investor and they're looking for dividend growth stocks, leave some comments of ones you like. If the market keeps correcting and you're looking for a safe yield and an undervalued company, leave some comments of companies you like. Some people have left comments, United Health. I like United Health. The issue is that if I was ever going to add single stocks, I would want the yield to be over the yield of SCHD, because the point would be to boost my overall income more than what I could get inside of SCHD or VIG. UPS, but some people mention that they have some issues within the business, and their dividend is borderline safe, where Verizon's labeled safe. Altria, their dividend is, I think, borderline safe. It's interesting though, if you're buying dividend stocks and you're looking for dividend growth, sometimes when you chase the high yield, you go for the higher yield. It's fun to take the slightly lower yield ones that have a much faster dividend growth rate and do the math and see when is the break even. Like if you were, for example, to get a lagging, like slower growing business Maybe UPS. I'm not saying UPS isn't going to grow faster with the adoption of more e-commerce and online shopping. But if you were to, they have competition headwinds from Amazon, and now Walmart's doing their own final mile delivery. So if you take the dividend growth rate of like a smaller company, like I'm trying to think of one that has this isn't like an amazing company, but they're a solid business, boring business, but very fast dividend growth rate. So look up Penske, for example, like Penske Automotive. Penske has a very fast dividend growth rate. I think their dividend growth rate is like the last 12 months was like 30-some%. I could be wrong, or the average was 30%, but it's fast. Their dividend growth rate's fast. The dividend yield is very, very low. But for fun, you could take it and do the math and see, like, how many years would it take for me to catch the dividend yield of, say, UPS, if UPS is growing at 5% or 3% a year, their dividend. Or Target. Target's another one. Their stock is way below its intrinsic value. Dividend yield is higher than its average. I see a lot of Target commercials too. This week they have Target Circle week, where they have like deals all week. I'm not saying to buy Target stock. I'm just saying that it's fun to look at to see if you could find a business you liked way better, that was a much better business, faster growing business, that had a much lower dividend yield but a much faster dividend growth rate. It might make a lot more sense to buy something like that overall for the long run. Keep in mind, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm trying to figure this stuff out too myself. All I know is we gotta stay consistent. That's why I'm making these videos. Keep myself consistent. Dollar cost average every day. Just keep chasing my income goal. The whole point of this entire channel for me is just, well, I don't really know what the point of the channel is. I'm trying to get passive income. I'm trying to figure out a way to get more passive income. So one thing I've realized is that over the years is that you can buy assets, but you can create assets. So you can use your imagination to create assets. So like over the years, my wife and I built a business and we created an asset. We created it from nothing to something. And in 2021, we had listed it with a broker for around $12 million. We had a lot of interest. The price kept getting lower and lower and lower. And then we had a buyer, and it was going to sell for around $8 million. And they backed out in the last minute because of the iOS Apple 14 update. The Apple update literally was happening during the sale. While we were going through the process of the sale of the business, they were literally witnessing my customer acquisition cost increasing day by day with my same campaigns running on Facebook ads. And they got spooked. I don't know a whole lot about a whole lot, but I do know a lot about a little bit. So it's good to know your circle of competence. And that's why with investing, I'm keeping it simple. I'm just buying ETFs. Like Charlie Munger said one time, he said he'd rather hire the guy that has an IQ of 130 and thinks it's 120 than the guy who has an IQ of 130 and thinks it's 170. He said the second guy will kill you. He also said don't underestimate the guy who overestimates himself. I think I got a little bit of that sprinkled in with our business. Oh, I was saying the whole point of this channel for me is to keep myself accountable, build a community where we can all stay accountable, doing the things that are going to improve our lives, to support our families and take care of us in the future. Subscribe to the channel, guys. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you in the next video.
Ooh. All right. Woo. This is light work. Come on, spill the tea. Ooh.